first of all, within these types of systems, they're very technically driven. And so, whether it's transit, urban planning, whether these technical kind of jobs, they're focused on a system that is very narrow, very rigid, and they don't want to have change from other areas. They want to look at it from, these are the facts, right? This is what the data says, and they take it from a general perspective. But from my perspective, I look at it from a people-centric perspective, a human perspective of, these are the people that are experiencing the services that we provide. Whether you're a consumer of goods, whether you're a rider on transit, whether you're, in the hospital getting healthcare, they're experiencing those services from the lived experiences, but yet you're talking about it from generalities. So there's that hesitation from the people who don't want to make that change. So that's where we need to make that change, to make it a more humanistic perspective of, this is how our system should be working, and take them into perspective in terms of how we deliver our services. So that's where I've seen it in my career, and this is where I feel that change is necessary in order for us to deliver real, equitable services and more inclusive services, no matter where we are, and also within our organizations that exist, to take those lived experiences into account of how we deliver policies, how we deliver programs, etc.
Yeah, absolutely. So reflecting on your career, your experience, your expertise, how would you define leadership? Broad question, a lot of different answers to that question, but how would you define leadership?
Look, first of all, as with how you've done things over, or what you've mentioned over the time, it's like leadership has always been defined by, the white people, right? And I've been, as I fully have agreed with you in terms of who has been writing this, right? And we've been following this through school. We've been following this through, on people who do LinkedIn. But the fact of the matter is it transcends race. It transcends class. It is more about how you define yourself, how you present yourself in the organizations you're with, and even when you're volunteering, it's professional development. It's being in those scenes where you're seen, basically, for a lack of a better term. And so that's where that leadership comes to play. And it's and to be broad, to talk about it broadly too. Leadership isn't by name, because that's the thing. We're stuck on the hierarchical organizations, right? Where everything is about titles. And let me backtrack for a minute too. Is one of the things that I've learned over my career and my life is that there's something that we call status anxiety. And that is basically because of the fact that we're focused on status. We're focused on titles, right? But you don't need to be, especially whether you're in a flat organization where everyone has the same duties with a little bit more responsibility here and there, or not. You can move away from that status anxiety. And so that really defines you as someone, as a leader, is someone who just, no matter what your title, you know what your responsibility is, you're accountable to the work that you do, and that you're, for lack of a better term, you're leading those initiatives so that you make your organization better, but also you make yourself feel good knowing that you are part of that solution. Yeah. 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 So, so for instance, I can go to a certain scenario where, I took the initiative to do this, to do what we call an impact assessment. And that was based on my experience. But I was able to say, hey, look, we all have different experiences. And I'm not here as a senior person of the organization. I'm here as someone who can help guide you into this process, and also guide you in terms of how is this part of the bigger picture, if you will. And so getting everyone on board to do that is something that really defines leadership. And so then you talk about it from the perspective of, hey, what does it look like from a strategic perspective? What does it look like from the organization perspective? What are they trying to do as an organization? How does that fit in? And that, again, is not based on title. It is your one part, you're the piece of the puzzle. And so those types of scenarios where you're able to bring your lived experiences to the position, and given that space to do that, is how you define, being that leader, and having that ability to make that change, and being accountable for that change. Mm-hmm. Right. Right. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, and as I mentioned earlier, Jenny, when your career has been, influenced by people who don't want to change, right? You're set back for so long, your confidence level goes down, you're frustrated, you're stressed out, there's burnout from all of that, right? And so the things that happen here is you need to find ways to motivate yourself, to get that support. And there are people out there who understand you, who will support you, and who will help you find ways to get around that. And I've had that experience in my career where I've had people say, look, Andre, you're on the right track. Maybe reframe it this way, or maybe just, sit back and, there have been different scenarios in that case. But in my case, I've had people who have supported me, who have listened to me, and, and try to get out of that mindset of being negative and being put down, right? Because in a lot of professions, there are people who are leaders who don't want to change, who just want to sit in their hands and collect a paycheck or go for retirement, that kind of stuff. And that's the frustrating part, is we want to make change, we want to help the organization, but the leaders who don't want to do it, as much as we try and influence that, they're like, they just want to remain with the status quo. And that's the frustrating part about leadership, is that there's a lot of people who want to remain with the status quo. And so overcoming that, getting the support, getting people who can mentor you, those who can sponsor you in the work that you do, and move on from that, right? So that you can gain that confidence and not allow those situations to hurt you within your career, and you become resilient in the end. And that's another part of leadership, is being resilient in those scenarios. So mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.